Newly sworn-in Attorney General Todd Blanche is set to hold a news conference, and we are waiting to hear if he sheds any light on whether he will prosecute Dr. Anthony Fauci. It comes after a Senate panel referred Fauci to the Justice Department after he pled the Fifth more than 100 times in a hearing rather than answering lawmakers' questions. Since that time, Senator Ron Johnson revealed bombshell texts from the doctor's pandemic-era phone in which Fauci privately expressed concerns that the COVID vaccine could be linked to miscarriages. Senator Johnson says lawmakers are working to release more texts. Watch.
We have to first connect phone numbers to people. We need to protect people's personal information. We'll go at this as we did. We kind of targeted key moments. He'll concentrate on gain of function. I'm going to concentrate on what they knew about potential adverse events, the safety signals they should have been warning the public about. But again, we'll try and get this out as quickly as possible, being very careful not to release personal information.
And Johnson, meanwhile, said efforts to reveal pandemic-era corruption were being obstructed by staff at the Health and Human Services Department. Watch.
Most of the people serving in these agencies have been there a long time. They were involved in the cover-up. They were supposed to be surveilling for vaccine injuries, and they weren't. I mean, it's pretty obvious to me in these interviews that they were not doing their job, not even close. Bobby Kennedy has people in those agencies sabotaging his efforts at radical transparency. So this is like pulling teeth.
All right, so much to unpack here. You had that interview, Kaylee. Tell us more.
Yeah, Senator Ron Johnson, of course, lit the world on fire, really, when he just released one text of 34,000. And that one text you just played about pregnancy and the risk of miscarriage and Fauci's personal thoughts with the CDC director at the time under Biden, with the Surgeon General. That was one text. They're approaching this so methodically. So they made the phone searchable. And they've determined there's 34,000 texts, 522 voicemails. Curiously, only 3 contacts. I don't know. I have like hundreds of contacts in my phone, but he wonders why there are only 3 names and why the rest are just phone numbers, making his job really impossible to figure out who each of these phone numbers is. He's divided the work, and Rand Paul is looking at gain of function and the origins of COVID, and Ron Johnson, is looking at adverse events and what was Fauci saying in text versus what he was saying in public. So they're approaching it methodically. They don't have a big investigative team, but he wants the American public to get these texts as quickly as possible. I think we all deserve that information, and the reason he released just one, he said that is pertinent health information. If there are pregnant women out there thinking about the COVID vaccine, they deserve to know that Anthony Fauci had expressed qualms privately, different than what was expressed publicly. And last point I'll say, he made this point, but he has studied adverse events. I've talked to him for a long time. He never once heard about this risk of miscarriage. And this was expressed by Fauci way back in 2021. So for someone who studied this to never have heard of this, to find out 5 years later, it's really infuriating for the American people.
Indeed. And the impact of one at a time, Harris, is quite important. I think it helps to not dilute, not be over. We're not drinking from a fire hose. So the methodical approach, the strategy behind it, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for it, even if it takes a little bit longer to get the 34,000 out.
Well, and when you handle it that way, you don't extrapolate drama, which is what you don't want. You want to be able to look at what's most important and inform the American people. Don't overload them purposefully, and that becomes the story, the drama. I'll tell you what really is disturbing. When Senator Johnson said it, and Representative Chip Roy out of Texas told me last hour, too, if someone from the inside, if people from the inside, a deeper set of people inside the HHS are covering for Fauci, that would mean, as Johnson said, they are working against the current HHS Secretary, RFK Jr. And there are constantly things that are going on that the public needs to know about. That's problematic. There are people who are working against the Secretary, thereby working against us as American citizens. I mean, I want to see them dig into that. Like, what does that look like? And Chip Roy, representative last hour, was right. What about Deborah Birx? What about some of these other people who were around the administration at the time when Fauci was not truthful and transparent and honest with the American people about some pretty damning things that were really important?
Perfect segue that I wanted to get to with you, Lisa, which is the bubble around him. Because while the contacts are only 3, there were many people. He texted these adverse event illustrative texts and more to people. So who knew? It's not like, other than the diary, it's not like the texts are just going to himself. You talk about the obstructionist behavior, that's felonious. So indeed, there are multiple people around his pigpen cloud that certainly deserve and hopefully will see accountability.
Well, and I've got to give credit to Senators Rand Paul and Ron Johnson. Rand Paul's been dogged in trying to get to the truth of the origins of COVID, and then Senator Ron Johnson has been dogged in trying to get to the truth about vaccine injuries and given a lot of those vaccine-injured individuals a voice in hearings when no one else would hear them. I will say from the beginning, it was always reckless to tell everyone that they needed to go out and get the COVID vaccine because everyone's risk profile was so different. I remember writing why I wasn't going to get it back in November 2021. I was 36 at the time. I had a 99.97% chance of survival. That's even better today as the virus has spread through Omicron and sort of reduced in, the deadliness of it. But even at the time, you looked at someone like Joe Biden, who was 78, and I was 36 at the time. There was more than 1,000-fold difference in mortality between the two of us. So something that Joe Biden might have needed at his age is not something that I needed at my age. And then when we realized as early as July 2021, the vaccine wasn't stopping the spread. There was a cluster outbreak in Provincetown, Massachusetts in July 3rd, 2021. 75% of the cases were vaccinated individuals. Joe Biden knew that. The White House knew it. Yet Joe Biden took the stage at CNN and told everyone you weren't going to get COVID if you got vaccinated. That's why Americans are so frustrated right now, because what we were told publicly is not the concerns that they had privately.
And the miscarriage is just a whole
Totally
heartbreaking other arena. Your thoughts?
2 points about Rand Paul and the COVID origins. I was saying back at the beginning, as many were, what about the lab? I wasn't the only one. Certainly Tom Cotton started this. And it was ridiculed as a conspiracy theory when it turns out that Fauci and others were deeply concerned about COVID origins coming from that lab. Why shouldn't they be? That bat coronaviruses were being studied in that lab. They were being studied in that lab in coordination with North Carolina. All of that our intelligence agencies brought out, but Tony knew about that. It's a flavor of let's tell the American public only what I think they should know. When it comes to the vaccine, it was an emergency use authorization. This is your excellent interview with Ron Johnson. It was an emergency use authorization. We were learning about it as it went. I happen to still think it's a good vaccine and has a lot of use. To Lisa's point, it may not be for everyone. About pregnancy, here's what's disturbing. In 2021, there was a big study coming out that questioned the issue of miscarriage, and Tony knew about it. And Tony's a vaccinologist. That's his lane. So, of course, he has to tell the American public about it so women can make informed decisions. I have to add, recent studies since then make it look like it's totally safe during pregnancy. But at the time, that came up, and it should have been disclosed.
I wonder
and Tony, you mean Dr. Fauci?
I knew it.
You mean
Tony
Dr. Fauci?
Has the vaccine changed in a way that's made it more safe for particularly pregnant women, if that was ever in doubt?
I think the studies that were done were better after the fact. But this study raised the question, and it needed a deeper investigation, and we got it. I think it's safe during pregnancy. COVID itself is dangerous during pregnancy.
But real
again,
quick,
it's an individual decision. You have to make this in coordination with your obstetrician.
But there's also the frustration with the lack of public disclosure, as you pointed out so eloquently. But it was also mandated. Joe Biden tried to mandate that into the arms of Americans, so people had to choose. Am I going to have to decide between feeding my family or injecting something in my body that I'm unsure about and I don't know if I want to get?
Right.
Here in New York
They didn't need it. Yep.
Everywhere. Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.